Jen Rouse, sounds like mouse. So, and she, her, and I'm in Iowa City, Iowa.
Oh, great.
We had a derecho. We didn't get the fires. We got the weird hurricane through the middle of Iowa a few weeks ago.
I used to live in Nebraska, so I know that part of the country, and strange things can happen there.
You know, alien crop circle.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Maureen's next to me.
Hi, I'm Maureen Bocka. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from Chicago.
Great. Awesome. Midwest is well represented today. And who's next on your, I like that. I like how you did that, Jen. Like who's next on, who's your next square on your screen, Maureen?
Well, beneath me is Laura Foley.
All right, let's go to Laura.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. I'm Laura Foley, and I'm in Vermont. And that was, Clara is my wife, and we are actually quarantining from each other. Because so she's downstairs.
Yeah.
Because I went to visit my my granddaughter, and so we're just what is it called, utmost of caution, or
yes. Yeah. Well,
so
great to see you, of course, and
great.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Thank you, Sandy, for doing this, and thank you, Headmistress Press. I love you guys so much.
Yeah. Well, they're really the ones doing it. I'm just hanging out with them. So and happily. So okay, and so we've got Jen, Risa, Laura, Maureen, and I think that leaves us with Robin.
Yeah, Robin Reagler. It's R-E-A. So
yep, great.
It's often mispronounced. But,
I'm
in Houston, Texas.
Houston. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, we really do have the belt today. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Robin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it all.
Are you
Hi.
there?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I'm here. It's Clara Jimenez.
Oh, wow, beautiful. Jimenez. Okay.
Jimenez, yes. And I am here as the audience.
Thank you.
You guys, I am baking bread, so.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Collectibles with Headmistress Press, the trading card reading series. With today's feature, Marty McConnell and Adrienne Rich. We also are featuring a spectacular open. I'm your host, Sandy Yanone. I am the author of Boats for Women from Salmon Poetry, and also the host of Cultivating Voices live poetry on another realm here in Zoomland. I want to wish all a very blessed Rosh Hashanah, as well as I would appreciate if we would join in a moment of silence for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away yesterday. Thank you. I'm using my vote mug today. You know, RBG really tried to stay with us because of the implications of, she knew better than anybody. So I like to really encourage everybody to be voting, whether you're able to vote by mail, depending on where you are in the country. Also, in honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg today, I'm wearing this particular tie. And it's got a trees of life on it. I went to a small college for women out on the East Coast, Wheaton College in Massachusetts, in the 80s. It's now coeducational. on the top of the library, carved in stone, was the motto that went along with these trees, which was that they may have life and that they may have it abundantly. And I really thought that that was so true of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so I wanted to wear that tie today in honor of her. Well, we are here for quite a wonderful, wonderful reading, and want to welcome those of you joining us here in our Headmistress Press Zoom room. And of course, later on, folks will be watching us on YouTube, on the Headmistress Press YouTube channel. A reminder that you're joining us for the Collectibles trading card reading series. You know, I have the whole entire set. You can too. You can go over to the Headmistress Press website and order your trading cards. They're sets by years, as well as the spectacular titles that Headmistress Press publishes. None of our readers today are being compensated. And so what I encourage people to do, if they have the resources, is a nice way to support and give a shout out to the press for putting this on, is to buy a set of trading cards and or a book from one of our readers, or any of the Headmistress Press poets. Well, I would like to check in if we have our feature with us. There she is. Hello, Marty. I am going to now introduce Marty McConnell by reading off of Marty's trading card. I always have to check what number it is. Marty McConnell is number 47 in the trading card reading series. Marty McConnell was born in 1973 in Boston. She received her MFA from Sarah Lawrence College, and her first poetry collection, Wine for a Shotgun, was published by EM Press in 2013. It received the silver medal in the Independent Publishers Awards and was a finalist for both the Audre Lorde Award from Publishing Triangle and the Lambda Literary Awards. Her second book of poems, When They Say You Can't Go Home Again, What They Mean Is You Were Never There, won the 2017 Michael Waters Poetry Prize from Southern Indiana University Press. She is also a 7-time National Poetry Slam team member, the 2012 National Undergraduate Poetry Individual Competition champion, and appeared twice on HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam. Her nonfiction book, Gathering Voices, Creating a Community-Based Poetry Workshop from Yes Yes Books in 2018, is based on the methodology she developed in running the Vox Ferris, an organization dedicated to empowering and energizing individuals and communities through the written and spoken word. It is such a pleasure to join Marty McConnell here on Headmistress Press's The Collectibles, card number 47, who will also be introducing our Adrienne Rich trading card a little later. Thank you and welcome so much, Marty.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I've been running about once a week, like a reading, writing. It's not really a workshop. It's like we discuss a poem and then we do some exploratory writing together. So it's like, that's my primary like interaction with folks around poetry these days. So it's so nice not to be in charge of this. I'm also so grateful to get to be with you all today. You know, of all days. Shana Tova to those who are celebrating this weekend. You know, when we're all moving through the latest deep grief. I don't know where you all were last night when you found out. My wife and I were with some friends at a drive-in concert that Jeff Tweedy and his sons were giving. And so I got to do a lot of outdoor weeping. And my sinuses have not yet recovered. So we'll do this. I'm excited to read some of my own work, and then to get to read the work of Adrienne Rich. I'm going to start off by showing you my stack. I had to select from my Adrienne Rich collection. So yeah, it's in going through it, I discovered that I'm missing one. I must have loaned it to somebody. I had to like print some out. So yeah, so I'm going to read a few poems of mine, and then we'll get to Adrienne's, and there may be some crying. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I'm a Cancer, so we celebrate crying in this house. So these, I'm going to read poems out of my latest poetry collection. When they say I can't go home again, what they mean is you were never there. I'll start with this one. It's called Apocalypse Lipstick. How shall we pretty for this ruin? Day into day, the core fails, the words dissemble, the flowers push their god faces up through the crushing season. Fuck it. Let's costume the dissolution with brilliance. Let's train ourselves like the slow, slow dying to see only light, only the dim, slumped sun gushing into the next busted eon. Take the ordinary raw from my mouth, the gummy meat of this flaccid tongue. Bring on the garbled bargainers of Wall Street and State. Here are my very best boots. Here is my weeping in the corner of the old tea shop. It feels so late. Here where the moon's out all through the day. Here where Opus is not being dead yet. So late in the early of the death century. So combustible these minutes, this language of sticks and baubles bloom, fake that the dust is confetti and not shredded bone. Join the dialogue of zeros, our painted mouth holes, code, and the constant siren lullaby. The half-life of gunpowder is forever. Half that if it's caught on film, half that if the revolver's PD issue, half that fired into black, half that fired into space where men would be if we rubbed our feet against the floor until lightning starred. The sun's a gun in the maw of the planet. All of us clocks now, showing how late the hour, how horror gorgeous. All the sparks lighting the midday dark, our faces constant as plastics, marked by what we cherished. An unlatched zoo of prophets whistling through our tooth holes. Can you hear me? Back across the wretched decades, the broken cosmos. I want to say, we are still here. Then a man feeds his lover in the train station remainder, and it's still a spell against the nothing. Our children are altars, but also we call them flowers. Once we were monsters. Once we were human. Once we flew. This next poem I haven't read out in a really long time, but I was thinking about it because of, I don't know, it's like we keep hitting different like unprecedented historical moments. I'm tired of unprecedented historical moments. I would like some unprecedented ahistorical moments for a little while. Yeah, this is a poem that I'd written a few years ago. You'll probably remember the moment. This is called The Admiral. The Admiral is a Chicago strip club. The Admiral. Every bomber is a suicide bomber. I walked into this strip club set to detonate. By the time the dancer leans into my ear to declare herself 100% gay, the second boy who blew up the marathon has bled out on the boat or been arrested. I stopped listening to the radio at Cornered. I stopped apologizing for not wanting a lap dance after the fourth naked offer. When the world's on fire, everybody finds their own way to the water. The manicured pubes of the ladies on stage, humping the laminate with practiced indifference, has all the sex appeal of street signs or furniture assembly manuals. I expected a room packed with wolves, slavering, and grabbish. I walked into a fishbowl of dead-faced men paying cash money to be lied to poorly. I left the radio on in the car, the voices of reporters filling the interior with secondhand blood, wounds, head to toe. I do not check my phone. If any of these women offers to kiss me, I will take out my tongue, the thing I sell to stay alive, leave it on the stage next to the singles and the fog machine, somebody's discarded juice glass, calling the name tattooed across one's lower back. Serenity. Serenity. Whatever fluorescent god we can pay to grant it or rent it. Holy water is made by the passing over of sanctified hands, melted ice at the bottom of a glass, a young killer's blood on a boat. No saints in this country, not in this century or this joint, not the cops, nor the boy, nor the bomb, nor me, nor the woman tucking my torn out tongue in her garter like a dollar bill, like a blessing, like the end of a fairy tale, the newscast, the amen, the amen. The end. So I want to read this poem. You're getting some poems that I don't read that often, because you're just like all here virtually and have to like indulge me, you know. I wanted to read this poem. This is The Sacrament of Penance, also has 4 parts. 1. Everything is burning and needs to. The news is not new, but terrible. I pull 4 cards for the fate of the world. The Tower, the Hermit, 8 of Cups, 9 of Rods. This country is not the world, but it is. Structure fire, light in the darkness. Walk away from comfort into the unknown. Choose one magic and use it. 2. A brief text about the end of the world. We're it. 3. The tower, the fate of the building, the fate of the people below them waiting to catch or kill or be fallen upon like fruit by flies or a boot. But wait, who is falling? Who is fallen upon? Who is the fire? Who the fired upon? Who in the penthouse drinking something cool, counting minutes until pale angels come to save him again? 4. The Hermit. Look within, genius. Any fire worth its tinder begins at the navel. In many ways, nothing has changed. We could enter the self and never leave. We could enter the leaves, burning and never self. Nature isn't the enemy, not even human nature. The enemy is the friend of someone who fears you enough to kill you, fears you more than regret or the inevitable loss of his inborn humanness. That person too is the enemy, but fear more his friend. Look within, genius. Whose friend? Whose enemy? The only thing that makes that lantern useful is fire. 5. Sometimes the dream of apocalypse is a cop-out. 6. The Hermit. You can leave the body, but it won't leave you. You can leave a country, but the country hits back. You can grip a city so tight all the bullets fall out, but then you wake up. You can dream the apocalypse and running trains and dark noons, but the news is still the news and you are still you. What are you going to do with that body now? 7. Apocalypse would be a good excuse for this paralysis. I'm always late for the protest, and by late I mean I don't make it. Really good at vigils, though. Practiced at holding still, holding signs, diffusing the urge to weep. 8. Get it, cop out, cop a feel, cop a plea, etc. White paralysis is a cop-out. Typing love and light is a cop-out. Staying quiet when the dude at the bar goes on about how nobody better tell him what words he gets to use, the N-word among them, says it and says it is a cop-out. How badly I want to apologize to all my Black friends is a cop-out. But I'm sorry. I am sorry. 9. 8 of Cups. For anything new to emerge, something's got to burn. But here it's all water and walking away. All our beautiful things on fire or underwater. Pick a cup and swim in it until it tips or you drown. Pick a cup and drink from it until sunflowers draw their petals back to reveal just the dark center, which is like that shadow on my grandmother's tongue, where what she thinks about our Black president lives. Pick a cup and sink. Pick a cup, a good one, gold or engraved, and leave it by the side of the road under the overpass where people go to sleep, and I lock the doors as I drive by. 10. 9 of Rods. Thunder has no hands. Do you understand? If the nature of the rod is weapon, and the pacifist song is strangled by a plastic jailhouse trash bag, and the man in the penthouse sips whiskey from a snifter of exotic ice, if the nature of sunflowers is to reveal and go to seed, but the 4-handed girl with 8 faces knows me, knows my spiny fruit heart, for what will I place the pale angel who loves me in the middle of the road, for whom cut off her wings, of them make what shade? 4 cards in the dark. Tinder for a world awaiting its purifying burn. Oh, look at your heart, the heart. So just a couple more, and then we get to listen to Adrienne's words. This is Queerer Weather. Language itself inverts, subjugates, and this means we don't have to go home alone anymore. This is a chair that folds out into a palm tree, and I can't stand Los Angeles. Language is the locus of all tyranny. Also, love offered like water, the mouth giving and giving before coming to silence, before saying, I could gift you all the noise in this body and still the door wouldn't close. This chair doesn't turn into anything, and it's my favorite. It's a chair. You were born in California, and that's okay. I love you. It's true. And people shout about it on the television with some frequency. They think we and our kind will usher in a new era, which could be called the tyranny of choice. And then their grandchildren will marry dogs or potted plants, and there goes the family tree, so to speak. The language of fear is magnetic and simple, easily digested and attracted to itself. We see it every day. This is Chicago. The water makes the weather. So I'm going to read just one more of mine, and then we'll transition to Adrienne's work. It's the last poem in the book. Feels appropriate for this day of mourning and celebration of that life, and I hope that she'd want us to hang on to. So this is actual rapture. Day with rejoicing, day with the wind in its shoes, day splintering winter behind the heels of joggers, day with seeds, day without rot, day hungry for lemons, day starved for bright, day thirsty for reservoir hips, day reservoir for sorrow, day holds sorrow like a grandfather's basement grenade, willow scaling day, wave chasing day, day even the moon can't abandon, day tuned to the samurai channel, day the mushrooms bloom, cicada hum day, comet miss us day, day of automatic altars, day we tip our faces up to swallow clouds, day we become our own species, day we assume the posture of funk and play the banjo loud, day we shutter the homicide shop and museum the epileptic streets, day worth its weight in pigment and ash, blue day, blues day, day invented testimony, day bastard chapel, day mystic hymns, day rivet the buildings, day map the hood, day weave no memory shroud, day cover no forever face, day put no pennies on no eyes in no fountains, day of no wishes, only spells, day with no shouting, day with no fire, bright lensed day, day built for singing, day nobody dies, day nobody dies. Okay. It's been such a long pandemic, and this is actually the first virtual poetry reading I've done. I just realized that. So you're all wonderful. And I realized that I don't actually have a bio for Adrienne Rich here. There's like bios on all of her books. But I can also just find one on the internet real fast, probably. I think, well, here we go. The one that's on Fox is probably pretty.
And Marty, Sandy can read it off of the back of the trading card. You want to read it,
Okay,
Sandy?
great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sandy, you're muted.
I was going to say first, thank you so much for the reading. And normally I wouldn't be jumping in, but sublime, really, truly sublime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll appropriately acknowledge you. Okay, here's Adrienne Rich. Adrienne, yes, number 30. Adrienne Rich, 1929 to 2012. I remember the day she died too.
Mm-hmm.
I held a makeshift reading, just spontaneous reading of her work at the college. Over lunch, we just said, let's gather and read her work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adrienne Rich was born in Baltimore, Maryland, to a Jewish father and a Southern Protestant mother. Her influence as poet, essayist, feminist, and activist spanned a 60-year career that produced more than 30 books. A lifetime focus on feminism, sexuality, civil rights, Jewish identity, and the anti-war movement positioned her as a leading activist whose work remains relevant. Rich's first book, A Change of World, 1951, won the Yale Younger Poets Award. Diving into the Wreck, 1973, won the National Book Award. Other prizes for her work include the Ruth Lilly Poetry Prize, the Lannan Lifetime Achievement Award, and a MacArthur Grant. Her nonfiction book, Of Woman Born, 1976, is a ruthless personal probe of motherhood and remains a classic feminist text. This was followed by the essay Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence from 1980. Though married with 3 sons, she came out as a lesbian in 1976, beginning a lifelong relationship with writer and editor Michelle Clift. I'm looking forward to hearing your selections.
Yes. Okay. So I want to start with just one of my favorite poems ever. Definitely one of my favorites of hers. This is the poem Dedications from An Atlas of the Difficult World. This is such a poem of intense comfort for me. It's one I come back to and back to. I know you are reading this poem late, before leaving your office of the one intense yellow lamp spot and the darkening window in the lassitude of a building faded to quiet long after rush hour. I know you are reading this poem standing up in a bookstore far from the ocean on a gray day of early spring, faint flakes driven across the plain's enormous spaces around you. I know you are reading this poem in a room where too much has happened for you to bear, where the bedclothes lie in stagnant coils on the bed and the open valise speaks of flight, but you cannot leave yet. I know you are reading this poem as the underground train loses momentum and before running up the stairs toward a new kind of love your life has never allowed. I know you are reading this poem by the light of the television screen where soundless images jerk and slide while you wait for the newscast from the Intifada. I know you are reading this poem in a waiting room of eyes met and unmeeting, of identity with strangers. I know you are reading this poem by the fluorescent light in the boredom and fatigue of the young who are count themselves out at too early an age. I know you are reading this poem through your failing sight, the thick lens enlarging these letters beyond all meaning, yet you read on because even the alphabet is precious. I know you are reading this poem as you pace beside the stove, warming milk, a crying child on your shoulder, a book in your hand because life is short and you too are thirsty. I know you're reading this poem, which is not in your language, guessing at some words while others keep reading, and I want to know which words they are. I know you are reading this poem, listening for something, torn between bitterness and hope, turning back once again to a task you cannot refuse. I know you are reading this poem because there is nothing else left to read, there where you have landed, stripped as you are. Oh, God! It's too much. Okay. We're gonna get through it. This is from Fox, one of her later books. One of the things that I adore most about Adrienne Rich is that she just never stopped experimenting and exploring and writing different kinds of poems. For this, if I've reached for your lines, I have. Like letters from the dead that stir the nerves, doused for you a spring head to water my thirst, dug into my compost skeletons and petals you surely meant to catch the light. At work in my worm-eaten, wormwood-raftered, stateless underground, have I a plea? If I've touched your finger with a ravenous tongue, licked from your palm a rift of salt, if I've dreamt or thought you, a pack of blood, fresh drawn, hanging dark red from a hook higher than my heart, you who understand transfusion, where else should I appeal? A pilot light lies low while the gas jets sleep, a cat getting towed from stove into nocturnal ice. Language, uncommon and agile as truth, melts down the most intractable silence. A lighthouse keeper's ethics. You tend for all or none. For this, you might set your furniture on fire. Of this, we have blundered over, as if the lamp could be shut off at will. Rescue denied for some, and still a lighthouse be. I marked these books, and now I get to be like surprised by what I picked out. This is from The Dream of a Common Language, which is, I think, maybe my favorite book of hers. Nights and Days. I actually have lines from this one tattooed on my body, so I have to read it. The requirement. Nights and days. The stars will come out over and over. The hyacinths rise like flames from the windswept turf down the middle of Upper Broadway, where the desolate take the sun. The days will run together and stream into years as the rivers freeze and burn. And I ask myself, and you, which of our visions will claim us? Which will we claim? How will we go on living? How will we touch? What will we know? What will we say to each other? Pictures form and dissolve in my head. We are walking in a city you fled, came back to, and come back to still, which I saw once through a winter frost, years back, before I knew you, before I knew myself. We are walking streets you have by heart from childhood, streets you have graven and erased in dreams, scrolled portals, trees, 19th century statues. We are holding hands so I can see everything as you see it. I follow you into your dreams, your past, the places none of us can explain to anyone. We are each. The onslaught of the surf tells me Point Reyes, or maybe some northern Pacific shoreline neither of us has seen. In its fine spectral mist, our hair is gray as the sea. Someone who saw us far off would say we were two old women, Norns perhaps, or sisters of the spray, but our breasts are beginning to sing together. Your eyes are on my mouth. I wake early in the morning, in a bed we have shared for years, lie watching your innocent, sacred sleep as if for the first time. We have been together so many nights and days. This day is not unusual. I walk to an eastern window, pull up the blinds. The city around us is still on a clear October morning, wrapped in her indestructible light. The stars will come out over and over. The hyacinths rise like flames from the windswept turf down the middle of Upper Broadway, where the desolate take the sun. The days will run together and stream into years as the rivers freeze and burn. I ask myself and you, which of our visions will claim us? Which will we claim? How will we go on living? How will we touch? What will we know? What will we say to each other? This is Hunger, which is a poem that she wrote for Audre Lorde. So I'm like, I have to read one that one of ours wrote in dedication to another. Hunger. Oh yeah? Yeah, Audrey's got a card. 1. A fogged hill scene on an enormous continent. Intimacy rigged with terrors, a sequence of blurs the Chinese painter's ink stick planned, a scene of desolation comforted by two human figures recklessly exposed, leaning together in a stick-like boat in the foreground. Maybe we look like this, I don't know. I'm wondering whether we even have what we think we have. Lighted windows signifying shelter, a film of domesticity over fragile roofs. I know I'm partly somewhere else. Huts strung across a drought-stretched land, not mine. Dried breasts, mine and not mine. A mother watching my children shrink with hunger. I live in my Western skin, my Western vision, torn and flung to what I can't control or even fathom. Quantify suffering. You could rule the world. 2. They can rule the world while they can persuade us our pain belongs in some order. Is death by famine worse than death by suicide? Than a life of famine and suicide? If a Black lesbian dies, if a white prostitute dies, if a woman genius starves herself to feed others, self-hatred battening on her body? Something that kills us or leaves us half alive is raging under the name of an act of God in Chad, in Niger, in the Upper Volta. Yes, that male God that acts on us and our children, that male state that acts on us and our children, till our brains are blunted by malnutrition, yet sharpened by the passion for survival. Our power is expended daily on the struggle to hand a kind of life on to our children, to change reality for our lovers, even in a single trembling drop of water. 3. We can look at each other through both our lifetimes, like those two figures in the stick-like boat flung together in the Chinese ink scene. Even our intimacies are rigged with terror. Quantify suffering? My guilt at least is open. I stand convicted by all my convictions. You too. We shrink from touching our power. We shrink away. We starve ourselves and each other. We're scared shitless of what it could be to take and use our love, hose it on a city, on a world, to wield and guide its spray, destroying poisons, parasites, rats, viruses, like the terrible mothers we long and dread to be. 4. The decision to feed the world is the real decision. No revolution has chosen it. For that choice requires that women shall be free. I choke on the taste of bread in North America, but the taste of hunger in North America is poisoning me. Yes, I'm alive to write these words, to leaf through Colwitz's women, huddling the stricken children into their stricken arms, the mothers drained of milk, the survivors driven to self-abortion, self-starvation, to a vision bitter, concrete, and wordless. I'm alive to want more than life. Want it for others, starving and unborn, to name the deprivations boring into my will, my affections, into the brains of daughters, sisters, lovers caught in the crossfire of terrorists of the mind. In the black mirror of the subway window hangs my own face, hollow with anger and desire, swathed in exhaustion. On the trampled newsprint, a woman shields a dead child from the camera. The passion to be inscribes her body. Until we find each other, we are alone. I mean, she wrote that in 1975, right? When I get to viruses, I'm like, I think I'll read one more to finish. And let's see, do I want to read this one? That one. Let's read this one to close. This is from a survivor. The pact that we made was the ordinary pact of men and women in those days. I don't know who we thought we were, that our personalities could resist the failures of the race. Lucky or unlucky, we didn't know the race had failures of that order. and that we were going to share them. Like everybody else, we thought of ourselves as special. Your body is as vivid to me as it ever was, even more since my feeling for it is clearer. I know what it could and could not do. It is no longer the body of a god or anything with power over my life. Next year, it would have been 20 years, and you are wastefully dead. Who might have made the leap we talked too late of making, which I live now, not as a leap, but a succession of brief, amazing movements, each one making possible the next. I wanted to read that one because I feel like this, like that's kind of my current motto, like mantra, right? A succession of brief, amazing movements, each one making possible the next. You know, we can't think too far out. Thank you all so much for letting me read those to you.
There's the heart again. Everybody, why don't you unmute yourselves for a moment and let's give Marty a rousing, you know, a true.
Thank you, Marty.
It's such a great reading, really. Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. You know, I mean, Mary, I don't know about you, but like, I just go to this reading over and over and over again. I listen to Marty read her poetry and Adrienne's poetry for all eternity. If this was the only reading I could ever go to, I'd do it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That
for
was
sure.
just- that was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh,
You made everything new.
Well-
Everything seems new, doesn't it?
yeah. Well, folks, here in the Zoom room and soon to be on YouTube, you have been listening to the sublime Marty McConnell reading Adrienne Rich and Marty's own absolutely exquisite poetry. This is Headmistress Press's The Collectibles trading card series. And if you want both these cards, which I recommend that you get, you're gonna have to buy 2017 series and 2018 series. They're well worth it. They're on the Headmistress Press website, along with titles from our readers today. So please support this miraculous press, Headmistress Press. Thanks again, Marty. I'm usually way more chatty in the chat, but I just was taken by the reading and I was speechless. So we move on to more extraordinary poetry. I'm going to share with you our biographies of our readers who are also Headmistress Press poets reading in our open mic. I'll read all of their bios and they will join us in succession. First reading today will be Jen Rouse. Jen holds an MFA from American University and an MLIS, that's a Master of Library Information Science, I believe, from the University of Iowa. She lives with her wife and daughter in Iowa City and directs the Center for Teaching and Learning at Cornell College. Her poems have appeared in Poetry, Cleaver, Always Crashing, the Mississippi Review, and elsewhere. Headmistress Press, of course, published her books, Acid and Tender, Cake, and Riding with Anne Sexton. Next, after Jen, will be Laura Foley. Laura Foley is the author of 7 poetry collections. Why I Never Finished My Dissertation received a starred Kirkus review and was among their top poetry books of 2018. 19. Her collection, It's This, is forthcoming from Salmon Poetry. Thank you, Poetry Sister. Laura lives with her wife among the hills of Vermont. Maureen Bocka is a writer and librarian from Chicago. Maureen is the author of the poetry chapbook, First Name Barbie, Last Name Doll, 2014, from Headmistress Press. Some of Maureen's poems have been published in the Alchemist Review and the wonderful Lavender Review. I have a copy right behind me here. Robin Reagler won the 2018 Charlotte Mew Prize for Teeth and Teeth, selected by Natalie Diaz. She is an educator and parent living in Houston, Texas. And our final reader in our open mic for today at the Collectibles will be Yeva Johnson, a pushcart nominated poet, musician, physician, whose work appears or is forthcoming in the Bellingham Review, Femme Literati, Mixtape 2, SF, San Francisco Public Library poem, A Day, Sinister Wisdom, and others. Yeva is a past artist in residence for Show Us Your Spines from Radar Productions, SF Public Library, and is a member of the QTPOC 4-show Artist Collective Poet and board member and the Marin Poetry Center. I'm looking forward to hearing all of your work here in the open mic. Thank you so much for being with us. And Jen will start us off.
Well, thank you so much, Sandy. And thank you to my Headmistress family. And what a beautiful reading, Marty. And I could go on and on. Until we find each other, we are alone. And so it's so nice speaking with all of you today. I'm going to start with a poem from Cake. And you know, you just have to look at Mary's beautiful work, right? I just can't resist putting the covers up there. So this is really in honor of Adrienne and Justice Ginsburg, women that I feel paid a remarkable kind of attention. And that's the title of this poem. A remarkable kind of attention. 1. For every trick or treater at the door, I adjust my height. I hover and remark on a unique costume detail with sincere delight. I believe there is a kind of bravery in asking to be seen, in asking to be noticed as magnificent. 2. You believe my favorite candy type is histrionic. It leaves a nice sour coating on your tongue, reminding you perhaps that on the day I asked not to die, you closed the door, that crumpled wrapper helped me, twisted the last in the bottom of the bowl. 3. At the end of the film, Bergman, in her complete genius, swears she is simply too mad to save her once-upon-a-time captor. Sometimes you take a knife and turn your back. No matter how beautiful those arms felt and felt again and once again like ropes around you, when you confuse candy and safety, when you hear, this reminded me of you, but I never actually think of you, because why? Why would I turn to see someone who is always half in shadow? 4. The beauty of knowing where the absence of shimmer shows a missing scale, where the blade will fall the fastest, how you will look back at me betrayed, how you will cringe at a certain kind of laughter. Tell me again just how much you did trick and didn't treat love me. 5. I looked you in the eye every single time, and when I pulled you in like a delicate piece of hand-spun sugar, I felt the molten core of where you began and I ended. It was in spite of you, a remarkable kind of attention. And now I'm going to read a couple from Acid and Tender. This was my first book with Headmistress. And for this book, I created a persona called Hummingbird Girl. And she really spoke out when I couldn't really speak to the mental illness and the really difficult times I was having when I was writing this collection. So Hummingbird Girl takes flight in this book, first in the House of Birds. In the House of Birds, walls quiver with wings. Her nervous fingers flutter at her ruby throat. And every room has a pedestaled bath where delicate finches dip tiny beaks while regal hawks hang from birch chandeliers. Why am I here, she wonders again. Her hollow womb, her spindly ankles. Oh yes, of course, her head. Hummingbird, they said, when she told them she craved nectar and couldn't sit still. Sanctuary, they said, when she stopped sleeping and plucked the feathers from her crown. It wasn't this she expected to be. Not all birds sing here, she noted. Some spend all day constructing meticulous nests, others plumping elaborate plumage. Multiple personalities, hummed the pigeon as he hopped upon her bed. Rest, she whispered, but her legs never touched down. Thank you. And a lot of this book is really kind of, I don't know if it's in conversation with Frida, but I'm going to bring Frida out to the party today, you know, with Ruth and with Adrienne and all of you. This is called Love's Anatomy. Here's the window, your breath and back against, my hand on the glass and longing, tethered. There was nothing surreal in our self-portrait of stars, fallen, flooded, and spilled this womb through all our fingers. I tried so hard to catch you, stitched and severed, but when I opened my mouth to scream, only my heart flew out. A child's balloon, a lost umbilicus. I will have to walk out of here alone. I will have to change my name. Once more, I will have to love something that I will lose. Tell me again the story of why we are here. Tell me again the story of hummingbirds and thorns. And I'm going to finish with a poem from a few years back. But Ruth makes an appearance, and I kind of wanted to end with this today, and of course it's called Descent. Ruth Bader Ginsburg swings on a string from my rearview mirror. She is evidence-based and smells like bubblegum. Once I had to finish the job of miscarrying a ball of cells. At the drive-up window, the pharmacist giving me the pills looked stricken. I have to ask if you are pregnant, she said. Yes, I mean, no, I mean, so vulnerable. We are all dying in our vulnerability, and I had to finish this process. Pharmacist, do you know these pills will abort a fetus? A fetus, a fetus, 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 fetus? Me? Really, a fetus? A fetus, huh? Do you know that science-based research wouldn't even consider this a pregnancy? And I'm a lesbian, just think, in Iowa. This kind of diversity here in Iowa, I might have had that perfect child. But the science-based evidence is this: my body is finishing off a cluster of diversity dust. Pharmacist, oh. Ruth kept banging her head against my window with precision, just as she had spent her ACLU years placing language into a brief. Like a chef would microgreens with a tweezer for that perfect dish of diversity. No room for error. That was Ruth Bader Ginsburg making your civil rights salad. To be cared for in every vulnerable moment is not entitlement. RBG hangs from my rearview mirror, fading. while the poets abort these censorship fetuses, exploding the silence that Lord taught would never protect us. Thank you.
Hi. So I'd like to thank you. That was beautiful, Jen, and thank you all for being here, and thank you, Headmistress Press, for existing and for being a wonderful, fabulous publisher. I have loved working with you. This book, I want to show you the cover. Maureen McConnell is the artist, and Mary designed it, and I just think it's so beautiful and interesting, and also so appropriate. You know, right? This came out a year ago. This poem is called Beyond. I don't think of her as woman or man, just as I don't gender sunlight on my face the first coatless spring day, or wind lacing the waves. The particular beauty of her eyes and gait, the tilt of her head as she listens, exist in a realm evolved beyond any words I know, soul beyond any description of rose or peony. The way she tends me as one would a flower, so my leaves droop and petals wither when she is away from me. I'd like to read this poem. I wrote it soon after Mary Oliver's passing, called It Matters. It matters that Mary Oliver woke early and walked along the bay as morning sun tore the sheets of darkness from the sky. It matters that she carried a notebook and cared to look into a kingfisher's soul, to dig in wet sand for clams, in which she later tasted the salt sea, erupting in her mouth like sex. That she let the soft body of her body love what it loved, which was Molly. It matters that she loved a woman. It matters that we each wake to stride our own snow dunes, that we find in each day something of value. Even the last ash leaf hanging on a winter limb, shivering a bit, then falling into stillness. Over and over to lose ourselves into something larger, something better. It matters that I clutch my stack of her books, those fields of light, now that her body has gone into the cottage of darkness. Thank you. I'd like to read this poem that I just wrote rather recently. I had a birthday in August. On the day, what was it like for you on this day decades ago, spreading mayo on toast, adding slices of ham, cheese, when suddenly your waters broke, flowed down your legs, your daughters giggling, "Mom, you wet your shorts." What was it like to be on your own, to pick up the phone, farm out the girls to friends? Were you trembling? What was it like to climb into the two-seater, to fly south off the small island, over the sound, down to the city, where there were nurses, doctors to help you give birth? What was it like? Your knuckles white from clutching the armrest, teeth clenched as you tried to smile, lightly converse, hide painful contractions, not telling the pilot for fear of a crash. Tell me from the grave, Mom, what was it like for you, oh brave one, on the day of my birth? And I'll end with a poem about my 4-year-old granddaughter. I think she was actually 3 3/4 at the time I wrote this poem. Grandparenting in the time of COVID-19. She shows me her flowered dress, striped leggings, leaps out of the frame onto the bed. I see a blur of her from time to time dashing by. When I plead to the empty screen, I'd like to visit you, hold your hand, walk along streets, cross that little bridge over the swollen river for an ice cream. Strawberry, if you like. She plops down in front of the monitor. No, Grandma, I'm in my house and you're in yours. Do you have any questions? I think, yes, 60 a minute, but say, no, dear, as she goes back to twirling. And I try to content myself, watching the pink flowers swirling outward like ripples on a pond, or a flowered clock, she, the second hand, ticking just beyond my reach. Thank you all.
Thank you, Laura. That was wonderful. So today I'm reading from my book, First Name Barbie, Last Name Doll. And here is the cover. And I will start by reading a poem called Malibu Barbie. Having hair brushed when snap, platinum hair now tangle free. The only way to kill Barbie is amputate her head. Every doll loses her head every now and then. Some even lose their limbs. Pieces of her neck remain on desk. Malibu is uncomfortable being played with. It is disorienting having her body picked up, leaving her head behind. Now she lies among pens and stress balls on the desk. Fluorescent dress sparkles in lamplight. Never again can she turn her head and look. This is the price to be reborn. And then my second poem is all about soccer Barbie and her evolution through time. In 1999, Barbie played in the FIFA World Cup. She is really going to have to convince us. Do soccer players really have brushes that match their uniforms? I'm not sure her legs have ever been through a match. Through unknown mechanics, she can kick and throw. Maybe she means business. There is a tiny bottle of Powerade behind her. Must-bangs surely mean Barbie can play hard. Next to her in the box is a picture of Mia Hamm. Barbie might be riding on Mia's credentials. In 2013, Barbie played soccer as Soccer Barbie. She is officially a glamazon. Her legs have gotten even thinner, but now she has knees and elbows. The soccer ball, participation trophy, and uniform are all nauseatingly pink. This time, she is alone. Barbie is hardly an athlete. She just doesn't do the Olympic soccer team justice. Is that Megan Rapinoe laughing? Barbie is officially a spoof of herself. And next, I have a poem called Orca Dreams. And this one is actually about my Barbie whale that I've had, and I brought her to Lake Michigan every single year when we've gone to the beach. For 14 years of life, Shamu longed for a Barbie friend to play with her in water. Annual voyages to Lake Michigan, with a woman adult included, bobbing up and down to undulations, diving under, reappear, covered with seaweed, basking in sand castle moat. What is it like to have Barbie sit on back? Dreams of snout pat, pulled by her fins. Shamu sunbathes under bathroom window on green towel, waiting for companion. This next poem I have is, as always, dedicated to my friend Megan Bott. It's called Sophie Addresses Admirer. You want to be like me. Oh, girlie, you know how to charm a doll. It's because you met me with shoes. Women like dolls to have shoes. It means we have adventures. True, I never married, but my finger has a hole. For years and years, I was stuffed in a pink backpack. No way of knowing who was above or next to me. All I wanted was to find my companion. Oh, but don't you worry, dear. Daisy likes to take me to parties, and that makes for a good distraction, especially when there's a princess. I hope she kisses us straight on the lips. I like boldness in my woman, otherwise, you might as well be dating a shadow. Still, girlie, I cannot forgive you for wanting hypothetical children to play with sticks and rocks. You know you still love me. Kiss, kiss. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. That was great. It's an honor to follow you. Thanks to everybody at Headmistress for being here, and it's just an honor to join you. I'm Robin Reagler, and I'm from Houston. And I thought today I'd read a couple of poems for the Jewish holiday. I wanted to mention first that we got to choose which reading we joined, and I chose the Adrienne Rich one because the first poetry book I ever bought was an Adrienne Rich book. I had no idea who that was or anything. I grew up in a little town in Arkansas, and I went to visit a college and ended up at the bookstore, and somehow that was the book that was a magnet and came right to me. And so I feel like I have a lifelong relationship with her and her poems. The two I'm going to read today are both kind of about being Jewish, about the Jewish New Year, and Lashana Tova to everyone who celebrates that. Let's see. The first one is called Ma'ariv, which is the evening prayer. Ma'ariv. It begins. You breathe in the place where you are listening. The moon, hustling across the sky, shows us once again how we've gone wrong. History is a shot, the sound that starts the marathon. What does it mean to win when you aren't sure what actions to take? When you feel about the moments I regret most, when I lost all hope, sinking into a private envelope within myself, paralyzed. Did my silence invite violence? Jews of the ghetto, Jews of Auschwitz and Dachau, my people, please forgive me. I have failed you. I have failed. And yet, to somehow continue forward, breath after breath, contains a seed of hope. It is to you, Mom, that I am praying. I am your shadow, your voice beyond your death. And I am asking to become my better self. Just beyond what we want most, there is a dailiness that is moon enough. I remind myself we are the sum of every single option we can imagine. And this one is Rosh Hashanah 5779, which is 2 years back. I'm riding sideways in time. Thunderstorms darken the gold glowing birthday of this world. Lightning divides the sky, new scissors leaving the air pure and good. The white zigzag blitzes through blue to trigger the eyes to open in our bodies, fueled by fear and joy, chain-linked metal fences. I need to see you and feel connected. My mother died, and now I have her necklace. I carry my grief out in public, although it is a dangerous knife. It is a risk each time we open our bodies to one another, and yet, we leave ourselves open to love. Our body bends without a break. This is how hope vibrates, emitting a solo note, a joyous sound to fill all the air. This is how desire blesses us with a new year, hope with a brittle hymn, twilight. Thank you.
Robin, thank you very much. I enjoyed that very much. I want to tell you all, I really thank you for acknowledging Rosh Hashanah, because I snuck out of services to come here and I didn't know it's recorded, and my rabbi, who knows what she's going to say. And also, I'm used to doing open mics. I do not have a book. I don't have a book yet. However, I do have all the extant lesbian poet trading cards. There's just one sold out. You can't get them all because one of them sold out. I want that one. Okay, so I'm just gonna read you, I thought this was a tradition. I'm going to a lot of open mics. This is nothing like an open mic I've ever been to. So I will read 3 poems. I do my poems with music. So I will start and end with music, okay? I call this a poetry appetizer, kind of big one. Diasporic loops. I started out with cornrows and beads. I ended up with a short, nappy afro. I started out knowing snapdragons, forsythia, maple, and crabapple trees. I ended up knowing agapanthus, California poppies, eucalyptus, and redwoods. I started out hip hop dancing in the gay club scene. I ended up swimming in the slow lane at the piscine. I started out reading Wind in the Willows and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. I ended up reading Bastard Out of Carolina and Who Fears Death. I started out like Nina Simone, a classically trained musician. I ended up studying off on with jazz flutist Gerald Beckett. I started out being called a gay man in a lesbian's body. I ended up calling myself a queer lesbian. I started out believing all of my ancestors were from Africa via Alabama. I ended up learning some were Confederate soldiers and Native Americans. I started out making a mean matzo ball soup. I ended up making a mean mujatara. I started out with a crush on Craig Oliver. I ended up with a crush on Maria Hinojosa. I started out a feminist and a pacifist. I ended up a pacifist and a feminist. I started out saying 8 smaklik before meals. I ended up saying foi ótimo, muito obrigada after meals. I started out an agnostic, Unitarian Universalist searching for truth. I ended up a humanistic Jew, still searching. I started out full of dreams. I ended up like any poet, deep in the valley that descends beyond late middle age, with so much to say, but running out of time. This next poem is All the Flavors. And All the Flavors is after the film Go Fish and for Margot Rivera Weiss. I thought I was in love because she, they smelled like summer, hiding under the pine trees to escape radiating heat with that soft bed of warm, minty needle leaves to cuddle up in, but only when they smiled. I thought I was in love because she smelled like ocean breezes and chocolate chip cookies all at the same time, even with her hard butch exterior and chiseled muscles. I smelled her best when she opened her vulnerable side to me. I thought I was in love because they smelled like warm buttered rolls whenever they hugged me and then kissed me gently, even though we could only do it in secret. I thought I was in love because she smelled like cinnamon sticks twirling in a cup of tea, and I mistook her bright-eyed curiosity for all that exists as reflected love. My best friends warned me, not the straight ones, not the married ones. I thought I was in love because she smelled like everything wonderful. The last poem is Crone Crush, and then I will play a little music at the end. Crone Crush. I want to drink your skin in, feel your white hair waterfall next to my own onyx pond, gradually transformed by respectable gray streaks. Your unshorn silver tresses, kinky, unruly, curly, sleek, wavy, or spiky, sparkle in the sunlight. You complain of hot flashes and body aches as if to warn me off your aging nooks and crannies. Little do you know, I've always yearned for the crinkles and wrinkles of skin. Bony changes in hand and spine tantalize rather than repel. I want to intertwine my body with yours and delight in the momentary lessening of pain with a woman who can appreciate desire, my longtime longing. I want to explore zones left dormant and still splash in that fountain of hot lust, crowned now with argentine threads. No, you don't put me off. I am the moth drawn to your white hot flame. Thank you.
Wow, everybody, let's unmute and just give a big, big shout out to all our open mic readers.
So great.
And our
Yay!
Wonderful.
oh my gosh, spectacular. Thank you. So everyone, thanks to all our readers in the open mic here on the Collectibles trading card reading series. You've been listening to Jen Rouse, Laura Foley, Maureen Bocka, Robin Reagler, and we ended with Yeva Johnson and her miracle flute. We began with our featured readers, Marty McConnell from the Trading Card Reading Series, channeling the spirit and poetry of Adrienne Rich. And a rich reading it was, indeed. If you enjoyed our reading today here with Headmistress Press, I hope you'll join us next month with our featured trading card, Ching Yin Chen, sharing the work of Monica Hand. That's going to be on Saturday, October 17th at 12 Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Mountain, 2 Central, 3 Eastern. Mark your calendars. I also agree with Yeva that this is unlike any other open mic. And I attend a lot of them. And I also happen to host one on Sundays. So don't tell anybody I said that. You're all welcome to join us next month. And a reminder that, of course, you can purchase Headmistress Trust trading cards and the books that you've heard from today, as well as an incredible array of more books, beautifully designed, Headmistress Press titles at Headmistress Press website. Well, that's it for today. I'm Sandy Yanone, your host of The Collectibles and the author of Boats for Women from Salmon Poetry, and also the host of Cultivating Voices live poetry open mic over on Facebook on Sundays, if you care to join us over there. And I wish you all a very prosperous and positive month here in these COVID times. And we look forward to seeing you in October.
Okay, but don't leave yet because I want to hear from Naomi Raplansky. If you
Yep.
can say a word for us, Naomi. Are you there?
Yeah, everyone is welcome to stay on now. That's the end of the formal reading. And you're all welcome to stay on and just have a chat with us about the reading or anything you want to share. We had a lovely time last time around. We stuck around and had a really interesting conversation. So yeah. I'm looking. And so everybody could unmute.
Sandy.
Yeah.
There's a famous, wonderful poet here, Naomi Raplansky.
I am familiar with Naomi Raplansky, actually.
I see her name, and I'd love to hear her voice. And she's unmuted herself, or someone has.
She's off screen.
So,
she's off screen, but
yeah.
And she's not, and she's just, no, she hasn't unmuted. So she might just have it on in the background. But anyway, hopefully she'll join us. Oh, I think she's heard your call. It looks like she's unmuted.
Naomi.
I want to also acknowledge someone who's in the room who gave a really, really beautiful reading last month, which is Vicky now. It's great to have you with us today. I love that reading last month. So, and Mazel Tov to everyone today.